Hey guys, one of the videos that you guys have asked me to do more than anything else has been how to make sourdough starter the French chef way. I don't know if this is the way that everybody in France does it, but back in March when my girls and I took a trip to Paris and got to take a bread making class from a real French baker, this is the way that he taught me how to make it. So I wanted to show you guys. It is such a simple process, but it does take about a week, anywhere from a week to a week and a half. It kind of depends on the temperature in your house, I think. But in the end, you get something that is so flavorful and definitely worth the little bit of effort that you have to put into it.
So this right here is actually what is going to make this sourdough starter different than any other sourdough starter recipe that I have seen. And it's actually what made me think that maybe this starter would be a little bit better. I don't know. The first thing that you're going to do is start out with organic apples. It's super important that you start with organic because you need to not have to wash them. The outside of apples actually has a natural yeast in it. So we're going to take those and put them in a jar. You don't need a ton. I think I had 4 or 5 in there, 6 maybe. And then you just stick them in a jar and then you fill it with water. And that is your day 1. On day 2, you have water that apples have been soaking in all night, and you're going to take a jar and add 2 tablespoons of, I just used all-purpose flour, and then you're going to use 2 tablespoons of that apple water. The first thing that you'll notice when you open that jar, it smells so good. It smells just like apples. That water has just kind of infused that flavor a little bit, and you're going to mix that up, and that is it. That's day 2. So this is kind of what it looks like when it's all mixed up. It just isn't very pretty or anything to look at, but then on the morning of day 3, you will notice that you have some bubbles. So this starts a lot quicker because of that natural yeast. So when you have those bubbles, you can go ahead and add another 2 tablespoons of your all-purpose flour. And I make sure that you use unbleached. That's really important. And then you are going to use the same amount of your apple water again, and then just stir it around, and it's going to look like this. I was really careful to make sure and not use a metal spoon. And then, yeah, make sure that you have your apple water all ready to go for the next day, because we're going to do the same thing. It gets a little bit monotonous, but at some point this is what you're going to get. And you'll notice that it's going to really start expanding. And when it does, it is time to start discarding. So this, you can kind of see the liquid that has formed on top. That means that you have something that is living and it is hungry. So that's a really good sign. And then you're going to just discard most of it. And then you're just going to add more flour and more of your apple water to it. And the longer that you do this, the healthier and stronger your starter is going to be. So I like to do it for at least a week before I actually try to use it for anything. And once I get to the point when I think maybe it would be a good idea to start using it, I like to put a rubber band around the jar, and that just tells me where it started, and then I can see kind of where it has grown from there. So we are about a week in, and I went ahead and added it to a bigger jar and did a bigger batch of the flour and the apple water. And this is what it looks like after sitting for a day. It is bubbly and delicious looking, and this is going to make some really, really good sourdough. The longer you let this sourdough starter grow, the better your bread is going to be, the better rise you're going to get. So I strongly suggest using yeast for the first month or so. And I know people are going to ask, yes, you can eat these apples.
So once you have your sourdough starter, you get to actually cook with it. So I am making a soup for dinner, and I am going to make some sourdough baguettes to go with it. I have my dough already made. If you guys are curious about how I made that, I will link the video down below about how I made the baguette dough. And I am just going to roll them out, and then we are going to have some delicious sourdough baguettes with dinner. Alright, now that I have them all rolled out, I'm going to cover them and let them rest, and they will rise a little bit more. They won't quite double in size, but they will get a touch bigger than this. And I will show you guys what that looks like whenever they are ready to go. So the next thing that I'm going to do on my baguettes before I do anything else is preheat my oven. I want a super, super, super hot oven. So I am preheating it to 450, and I want it to be preheated for at least 15 minutes before I actually start baking my baguettes. So let's see what they look like. Oh, they have puffed up just a touch. They definitely haven't doubled in size, but enough. And then the next thing that I'm going to do is score them. If you think that like pretty scoring is awesome, I do too. I am with you on that, but I am not interested in doing it on these baguettes. It just takes too much time. So I'm just going to do just a basic slice down the middle, and then I am going to spray them just with just water. That's all it is in my spray bottle, is just water, and get them really soaked on the outside. So you want these to steam. You want them to start their cooking with a little bit of steam. So we've sprayed them and gotten them really nice and wet on the outside, and then we are going to throw some ice in the bottom of the oven, not touching the bread, just on the very bottom of the oven whenever I stick these in, and then we will bake them for 15 to 20 minutes. Just kind of keep an eye on it past 15 minutes, and when they are browned and delicious looking, it's time to take them out, and we will eat them for dinner. And that's it. That is our sourdough baguettes. If you really want to get super authentic, then I strongly suggest making them with einkorn. You can feed a sourdough starter with all-purpose flour or with einkorn. Either works great. I tend to feed mine with all-purpose flour just because it is a little bit more budget friendly, but you can absolutely do both. And these are hot and fresh. You hear that? Sounds so good, and I am super excited to have these with our dinner tonight. So that is sourdough starter the French chef way. That is how I learned how to make it. I hope that was really helpful for you guys. It definitely, between the sourdough starter the way with just plain water and flour, it gives just a much more robust flavor, and it definitely is able to be used a lot quicker because of that natural yeast. So I hope that you guys liked it, and I will see you guys next time.